Well, good morning. We're thrilled that you all are here. Bob, thank you for, and Jerry for choosing San Antonio. We're really excited to have you all here. You know, we've got a great story to tell, and I'll tell you a little bit about it in a moment. But I'll be honest with you, we've still got a tremendous amount of challenges that we face every single day, just like you do. The things that you all talked about on the video, the education things, keeping downtown vibrant, small business loans, those are not unique to you all. Those are very universal, and we struggle with those things every single day. But we have very dedicated folks just like you all in this room that help us as a chamber tackle those things. And so we're really, really pleased that you're here. Mayor, thank you for being with us today. We're excited that you're here. You know, it's always a special treat as a chamber president when you get to travel with your mayor. It really opens up a whole different set of doors when you have your top elected official with you, not to mention state officials that are elected as well. Thank you all for being here. We're truly honored that you've taken some time out of your busy schedules to be here in San Antonio. So I couldn't pass up, Bob, you mentioned JP Morgan Chase that are huge members of the chamber and have been for a long time. But when you said big ass fans, I just had to say big ass fans. Because if you'll go out here in this complex, there's some of those big ass fans out there. So if you need to see some of your product, it's not very far from here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about San Antonio. I've got some prepared remarks, and then I'll kind of have them flow from there. But to give you the right perspective about San Antonio, I want to go ahead and take a step back and tell you about what San Antonio used to look like. 100 years ago, San Antonio was a growing agricultural city. We were known for cowboys and farmers. That's what, if you looked out at the expanse of San Antonio, you saw fields and you saw cows, and some horses too. In fact, in 1910, our census then was 96,000 individuals that lived in this community. 96,000 folks. Today, we are the 7th largest city in the nation, and we have a population of over 1.3 million people. But even back then, we had excellent planning. You know, our leaders were very, very thoughtful and always looking ahead, and they were responsible for the plan that we now have today that we're continuing to implement. But let me give you a couple of milestones in our city's history. In 1911, the first fiesta was held. And I saw many hands come up. About 3/4 of you all have been here before. I hope you all have been here for fiesta. That is our hallmark 10-day celebration where we honor those individuals who perished in the Alamo. So it started off as a very somber kind of a celebration, and we still have the somber piece where we honor those that have perished, but it's turned into a real celebration of their lives and of the culture of San Antonio. So it's a really nice melding of all of the cultures of San Antonio. The city has a long history with the military. In fact, we fancy calling ourselves Military City USA. But the first base realignment and closure, you all are not probably as familiar as San Antonio is with base realignment and closure, but that's a process the federal government goes through to look at all of their military assets, and they actually end up closing some of those all around. And so we are fond of saying that the first base realignment and closure that we ever experienced was back in the 1830s with the Alamo. So now the Alamo, of course, is the iconic location that it is, and it's the bastion of Texas liberty, so we're really excited that we still maintain the honor and tradition of what the Alamo is. But going back to the theme of the military, in 1917, the chamber got together because we didn't, at that time, after the Alamo, we really didn't have a military presence. And so in 1917, the business community got together. We understood that the Air Force wanted to expand. They were looking for a place to expand. So the business community purchased, I think it was about 1,500 acres. We donated to the federal government, and Kelly Air Force Base was established back in 1917. And across the runway, and by the way, that runway that separates the former Kelly Air Force Base, which was bracked out back in 93, Lackland Air Force Base is across the runway. And Lackland Air Force Base is the place where anybody that's in the Air Force comes to get their basic training. So we literally graduate 700 young people in San Antonio every single Friday from basic military training school out of the Air Force here. So we get thousands literally of people that are coming in on a weekly basis and that are staying here for an extended period to get their training. Generally, they leave San Antonio with a pretty good impression of what San Antonio is all about. But I think those first couple of weeks are pretty tough. And so we work really hard to convert them to how nice San Antonio is after their training. In 1927, Again, we saw the opportunity to expand the Air Force's footprint in San Antonio, so we again cobbled together some property on the northern end of town. We donated to the federal government, and Randolph Air Force Base was born. And they continue to train and teach many, many leaders in the Air Force today. In the 40s, we opened up the city limits, and we began 3 very significant projects that still impact the city today. First, we set aside about 500 acres for a medical school. We knew that at the time, when I mentioned the census back in 1910, we were the largest city in Texas. And we knew that as time went on, we needed to make sure that our citizens had enough health care. And so we set aside about 500 acres to establish a medical school. So that was the idea, to establish a medical school. So we wanted to facilitate that, so we bought these 500 acres. We set up a foundation that still exists today. And we have now a medical school, and we have a very thriving healthcare and biosciences community in that area in the northern part of town. So that was the first thing we did. The second thing we did was, we didn't really have a toehold in higher education. So what we did was, there was a university out of Waxahachie, Texas, called Trinity University. Waxahachie is close to Dallas. And they, for whatever reason, were looking to relocate. Their location was just not working out. So we heard that. We visited Waxahachie, and we donated property to move the university here. And that was the first, that was a springing board, if you will, for higher education in San Antonio. So that was the second thing. And then back in the 1950s, again, farming, ranching was still very important. So we decided that we needed to celebrate farming and ranching. And so we created, the chamber did, the San Antonio Livestock and Exposition. That is now the premier indoor livestock exposition and rodeo in the nation, and has been for the last 7 years. So we, for the last 7 years, have won the award of being the biggest and the best indoor rodeo and livestock exposition. And then, really, the thing that catapulted us into the modern age was the 1968 World's Fair. As Jerry so aptly said, you know, the Riverwalk really was a drainage ditch. And all the businesses didn't face the Riverwalk like they do today. They actually, the back of their buildings was the Riverwalk. And they used the Riverwalk as a place where they threw their trash. And so it was nothing more than a ditch, and it was a very unsightly ditch at that. And so all those young people that were getting, coming out of basic training, they'd come downtown, because that's what you do, you come downtown, and there was a lot of problems. There was a lot of fights. It was just not a desirable opportunity for the community. So the business community said, we need to do something about this. And then someone had the idea of, why don't we try to get a World's Fair here? So we developed a plan that the business community paid for. We gave it to the city of San Antonio, and our city fathers decided to implement the plan. And now you see the Riverwalk, which is one of the premier destinations for tourism in San Antonio, or excuse me, in Texas and in the country. In the 70s, we were very aggressive in expanding our highway network. I-35, IH-35, which goes north and south, and then IH-10, which goes east and west, continued to be expanded. But at that time, they were very small, and we were able to put some money together to help expand them pretty extensively. And then in the 80s is when we really set our focus on the healthcare and biosciences industry. I mentioned that we were shooting for a medical school. We got that in the late 70s, and then we've continued to expand that area, that footprint up in the north part of town. And right now, today, the healthcare and biosciences is the largest industry in San Antonio. 1 out of every 6 people that works in San Antonio is involved in the healthcare and biosciences industry, whether they're a doctor, a nurse, a technician, maybe a dental assistant, a scientist, someone that's developing new innovations in medical devices. So you put all that together, and it's got about a $27 billion economic impact on our community, and is the #1 industry in San Antonio. And then finally, I mentioned that we cobbled together the land for Kelly Air Force Base. Well, back in '93, that BRAC came through and actually closed Kelly Air Force Base. And it was a huge, devastating blow, because we had 15,000 people that worked there every single day. And so we didn't know what we were going to do. The chamber got together and put together a task force to transform that facility. Luckily, then President Clinton gave us some time and gave us the opportunity to develop these plans with a little bit of seed money from the federal government, and that today is called Port San Antonio. There are almost as many jobs as there were back when Kelly Air Force Base was in operation. There's about 12,000 jobs there, and they're all focused in the aerospace industry, which is a growing industry in San Antonio. So where are we at today? Well, we are growing. We're excited. We've got a dynamic young mayor who continues to do fantastic things for our community and raise the profile of our city. In fact, just this past March, he gave us a speech about his vision for the community. And as some of the issues that you all have, we struggle with obesity here in San Antonio every day as well. And in fact, a couple of years ago, we were named as one of the fattest cities in the United States. This year, I'm happy to announce that we moved the needle forward and we're one of the most fittest cities in the United States because of that focus that the business community has, along with our elected leaders, to really do something about getting people energized and getting people in exercise and eating healthy and all those sorts of things. So it's a grassroots effort from children all the way up to the corporate level. And in fact, just Saturday, we had our first ever Corporate Cup Challenge that was sponsored by our Sports Foundation, which was another creation of the Greater Chamber. And it was all about bringing together businesses to get them excited about having a field day. So it was a competition, 4 divisions. The largest businesses competed against the largest, and then the medium and small. And I'm happy to report that the Chamber competed. We have a small staff at the Chamber. We have 29 folks that work there, so we were in the smallest division. But we placed 7th out of 15 different other businesses, and so I'm happy to report that we held our own. So a couple of the industry drivers in San Antonio. I talked a little bit about healthcare and biosciences. That continues to lead the way in San Antonio. 1 out of every 6 people is employed in that area. But we also have a very, very diverse economy. The second largest industry in San Antonio is banking, finance, and insurance. That is the second largest, and there are thousands of people that work in that industry. The challenge that we have, however, and I'm sure you all know this, banks are very competitive. And it is the Chamber that has gotten together every year to study the size of the various industries in San Antonio, whether it's aerospace, healthcare, biosciences, tourism, the military. We have had a challenge, in all honesty, to get our bankers together to kind of help us to put that study together. But our hunch is that that is the second largest industry in San Antonio, and we're very hopeful that this year will be the year that we'll be able to get all of our banking institutions together, our insurance institutions together, our finance institutions together, so we can actually count their data. They're very, very parochial with their data, so it's been a challenge to get that. But our indications are that banking and finance is the second largest industry in San Antonio. Tourism, of course, is very, very important. We get 22 million people that visit San Antonio every year, just like you all. Whether it's for leisure vacation, whether it's a convention, tourism meeting, or a professional meeting, 22 different million people that come here every single year. So we're excited that you all are here and continuing to add to that growing, vibrant economy. 100,000 people are involved in the tourism industry that work in the tourism industry every single day. I talked a little bit about aerospace. Again, we turned lemons into lemonade with the closing of what was Kelly Air Force Base. Again, 12,000 people work there now on a daily basis. And just about 4 months ago, Boeing, which is one of our anchor tenants there at Port San Antonio, announced that they're moving the country's executive fleet, that is Air Force One and all the other planes that are in the executive fleet to San Antonio to begin their maintenance, repair, and overhaul here. So that's a big one. It's going to bring about 600 jobs. And that work will come here probably in the fall of next year. We're in the middle of constructing some new facilities out there. We're finalizing some leases. And so we will have, in addition to all the work that we're doing now in the maintenance, repair, and overhaul work, we'll have the executive fleet here. So it'll be kind of neat to be able to see Air Force One and that fleet of planes in our backyard. So we're excited about that. The military continues to have a very substantial footprint in San Antonio. It's got about a $15 to $18 billion economic impact in San Antonio. And San Antonio is the home of military medical training for all branches of the service. So we have Joint Base San Antonio, that's at Fort Sam Houston, which is an Army base, but now it's a joint base, and you'll have folks from the Air Force, the Army, Marines, Coast Guard, Navy, all getting their military medical training here in San Antonio, Texas. We also have a renowned burn center there that used to be called the Brooke Army Medical Center, but now it's called San Antonio Military Medical Center, but it has one of the premier burn units in the world. So whenever one of our members of the military get hurt and they have a burn, they fly them to San Antonio, Texas, and we give them the best care in the world. So we're excited and very proud to have that here. IT and cybersecurity. As you all know, that's a growing field. San Antonio was fortunate that we landed the 24th Air Force, which is the cyber component of what the Air Force does in San Antonio a couple of years ago. They've got about 500 jobs here, and all our indications are that continue to grow. The National Security Agency, which is the federal government's kind of larger cyber protector of our government assets, also has a very substantial presence here. And then we have over 300 different companies, large and small, that are in the cyberspace. So you add all that together, and it's got about a $5 billion economic impact in the community, and we see it continuing to grow over time. One of the interesting kind of new things to arrive in San Antonio, and I was talking to one of your members earlier, who has a friend that works for Lewis Energy, is the Eagle Ford Shale. Eagle Ford Shale is directly south of us, and it is a natural gas play and an oil play that was just discovered within the last 18 months, and all of South Texas, south of San Antonio, is booming right now. There are derricks and drilling rigs, and there are literally thousands of people that are now working as a result of this fantastic natural gas find. And luckily, San Antonio is the beneficiary, since all the towns south of here are tiny. By that I mean maybe 1,000 people, 5,000 people. Generally, the largest city is in Laredo, Texas, which is on the Texas-Mexico border, and that's about 250,000, maybe 300,000 people. But we're the headquarters for all those operations that are happening south of us, like Chesapeake Energy, Marathon Oil, Weatherford, Schlumberger. They're all setting up very substantial operations here, with probably on average 300 people each that are setting up their regional headquarters here. So we've been a very big beneficiary to what is happening in the Eagle Ford shale play. And I'll close with education. I noticed that you all, in reading the information about your all's wonderful city and your wonderful region, you'll have a fantastic percentage of your citizens that have higher education degrees. San Antonio is also a city of education, although we're not quite the level of you all, but we have over 110,000 young people that are getting educated in San Antonio beyond high school every single day. We've got fantastic colleges, universities. In fact, we are the only city in Texas that has a branch of both of the flagship universities, the University of Texas. We have University of Texas at San Antonio here. We have the Health Science Center, which is also from the University of Texas. And then we have a branch of Texas A&M that just set up shop 2 years ago in San Antonio on the south side. And so we're the only city that has both of the rival flagship universities for the state that are established here in San Antonio, Texas. So we've got a very fantastic story to tell. We're excited. We're coming up on our 300-year anniversary in about 7 years. And so we're working feverishly to kind of get something really special scheduled for that. But you add all those things together, and I can tell you it's a joy to be the president of the Greater San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. We have challenges, as I said earlier, but it's people like you that get involved and help the chamber do things that people think just happen. So I want to welcome you on behalf of our mayor. You'll hear from our city manager in a little while. We want you to feel welcome. We pride ourselves on being a host city. We have a friendly atmosphere here, and if there's anything that we can do to make your stay better, please let us know. Because if you don't, I'll find out about it eventually, and it'll be hung over my head. Since our offices are downtown, we literally get hundreds of people in our offices every day asking for directions, needing to use the bathroom, they're lost, and we are always happy to show them Texas hospitality and San Antonio hospitality. We want to show the same to you, so please don't hesitate to let us know if you need something in your state. We'll make sure that it's right. Thank you very much, and welcome.